Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about planning an implant case in Cympha Studio. This is for clinicians and implant designers who place implants directly in the browser against a CBCT. Whether you're sketching a single implant for a colleague to refine or building a full multi-tooth plan you'll save and send out. By the end, you'll know how to open the implant toolbox, pick an implant from the catalog, place it on a tooth using the three-dimensional view or a slice, fine-tune the position with the gizmo, save the plan to a file locally or to your cloud, and notify a colleague. Plan on about 15 minutes for your first single implant case, and roughly 2 extra minutes per additional implant once the workflow is muscle memory. Follow along on screen, or listen now and read the written guide later. Here's the lay of the land. Studio has a native implant workflow. With a CBCT loaded, you open the implant toolbox, describe an implant from the embedded catalog or by typing dimensions, and click it into place in the three-dimensional view or on a slice. The result saves as an implant plan file, which is XML metadata rather than mesh data, so it's small, human-readable, and easy to pass around by email, dropped into a Cympha case, or handed to Guide Mia implant software on a colleague's desktop. That desktop round trip has its own deeper flow through the implant project file and its own lecture. Today is the in-browser flow, start to finish. One scoping note. Everything here revolves around the CT. No volume, no implant tools, which is exactly where we start. 3 prerequisites. First, and non-negotiable, a DICOM CBCT loaded in the studio session. The implant icon on the left strip is gated on this. No CT, no implant tools. If the scan lives in your Cympha cloud, open it into Studio first. If it's local, the hamburger menu's Open DICOM action brings it in. Second, have a tooth number in mind for each implant you plan to place. Studio's tooth numbering follows the FDI system, except in US locales, where universal numbering is used, so what you type depends on where you are. Third, know the implant you intend to use, brand and dimensions. The embedded catalog covers most major systems, and if your brand isn't represented, you can still enter diameter, length, and apical diameter by hand. The plan saves and loads just fine either way. Click the implant icon on Studio's left strip, and the implant panel docs open. Take 10 seconds to read its anatomy, because everything in this lecture happens inside it. At the top, open catalog. Below that, a row of input fields, tooth number, diameter, length, apical diameter, brand, and catalog ID. Then the 2 verbs of this workflow, add and update. Add creates a new implant. Update regenerates the one you're editing. Below those, export and import, each in 2 flavors. Local, which works with an implant plan file on disk, and cloud, which saves to your Cympha cloud. And finally, notify by email for sending a pre-filled note to a colleague. One gotcha right at the door. If the panel reads load, a CT volume first, your DICOM didn't finish loading, go back to Open DICOM and wait for the slices to render before continuing. Step 2 is optional, but usually worth it. Click Open Catalog and a dialog lists every implant in the embedded library, grouped by brand and system. Browse or search for the one you want. Selecting a catalog row auto-fills the panel's diameter, length, apical, brand, and catalog ID fields. And here's the design philosophy to internalize. The catalog is a starting point, not a lock. Every field remains editable after selection. So if you want the catalog geometry but a custom length, just change the number. If your brand is in the catalog at all, skip this step entirely and type the numeric fields by hand. The plan still saves and loads correctly. The only difference is it won't carry a catalog ID. And if you think the brand should be in the catalog, file feedback through Cympha. The catalog is updated periodically. Now the placement, which is a 2-beat rhythm. Arm, then click. Type or confirm the tooth number, verify the numeric fields against your plan, and click Add. Watch the status line below the button. It updates to prompt you. Click in 3D or a slice view to place. The cursor in both views becomes a placement target. Then click the site. You have a genuine choice here. The main 3-dimensional view is useful when you have a clear soft tissue or bone view, but a slice, axial, coronal, sagittal, or panoramic is usually preferable for precise bone-level placement. The implant geometry appears at the click site, and the gizmo opens around it for fine-tuning. One rule Studio enforces for you: 1 implant per tooth. If you try to add an implant to a tooth that already has one, an alert explains the conflict. Pick a different tooth number or delete the existing implant from the model's browser first. This is the moment the workflow is built around. Implant geometry sitting in real anatomy, with the volume rendering the bone around it. It's worth pausing on why the slice views earn their place here. In the three-dimensional view, you're estimating depth along your line of sight. On a slice, you're clicking directly on the bone cross-section, which is why bone-level placement is usually done there. And once the implant exists, it shows up as a silhouette across the slice panes too. So you can check its relationship to the anatomy from every reformatted angle, not just the one you place from. Nothing about the first click is final, though. The whole next step is about moving what you just placed until it's exactly right. With the implant placed, refine it. Drag the gizmos translation handles to move the implant. Drag the rotation rings to adjust angulation. For fine control beyond dragging, double-click the implant in the three-dimensional view. That opens the movement panel for keyboard-driven adjustment. And don't neglect the slice gizmos. In the reformatted views, they give you axis-aligned nudges along the bone, which is often exactly the constrained movement you want. If you decide the implant itself is wrong, say you want a longer one, change the numeric field in the panel and click Update to regenerate the geometry in place. One sequencing rule. Update is disabled while placement is still pending. If you've armed Add but haven't clicked the site yet, finish the placement click first, then Update becomes available again. A multi-tooth plan is just the same rhythm repeated. Each implant is independent. And if you're placing the same family, you don't need to reopen the catalog. Change the tooth number, click Add, click the site. When the plan is done, you have two save destinations. Export local downloads an implant plan file to your computer. Remember, it's XML metadata, not mesh blobs, so it's small and human readable. Send it by email, drop it into a Cympha case, or hand it to the desktop software. Export Cloud saves the plan to your Cympha Cloud, associated with the loaded CBCT series, which means Import Cloud can bring it straight back later whenever that same scan is open. No file names to remember. Either way, the button label flips briefly to exporting, then back. That's your confirmation. 2 handoff options. Notify by email opens a pre-filled message in your default mail client. Patient name, the CBCT description, and instructions to import the plan. Add the colleague's address and send. For a stronger handoff, share the file from your cloud instead. That way you keep an audit trail in Cympha. Then the success check, which takes 1 minute. Every implant you place shows in the model's browser at the top. Each one's tooth number, brand, and dimensions match what you entered. And the acid test, the plan file, or the cloud slot, actually holds the plan. Importing it back into a fresh studio session reproduces every implant at the same position, which is the only proof that really matters. 3 things happen after the plan is saved, and it's worth knowing all 3 before you need them. First, the round trip. An implant plan file exported here imports cleanly into GuideMia implant software on the desktop, and the reverse also works, which is the subject of the companion guide on implant interoperability. So a plan sketched in the browser at chair side can be finished on a desktop seat, and a desktop plan can be reviewed in a browser by someone who has no seat at all. Second, and this is the one to remember because it looks alarming when it happens, if implants ever show up without their sleeves, don't rebuild anything. Just re-import the plan. Import plan re-adds both the placements and the sleeves, so a single import restores the complete picture. It's a 30-second fix that people otherwise spend an afternoon on. And third, sharing for review. You can drop the plan file into a Cympha case or share it directly from your cloud folder. Both paths preserve exactly the same metadata, so whoever opens it sees precisely what you saved. 6 things commonly push back, so let's take them 3 at a time. First, the implant icon on the left strip is grayed out. That means no DICOM CT is loaded. The icon is gated on the volume. Remember, use the hamburger menu's Open DICOM action or open a Cloud CBCT in a studio and wait for the slices to actually render before clicking the icon again. Rendering, not loading. The wait is short, but it's real. Second, you clicked Add, and now clicking in the 3-dimensional view doesn't place anything. Check the status line. It should read click in 3D or a slice view to place. If it doesn't say that, Add was never actually armed. Recheck the tooth number and click Add again. Third, the catalog is missing a brand your practice uses. Type the numeric fields manually, diameter, length, apical, and the plan still saves and loads perfectly. The only thing you lose is the catalog identifier. And if you believe the brand genuinely should be there, file feedback through Cympha because the catalog is updated periodically. And the second 3, which are all really about state. What Studio thinks is currently true. Cloud export and import buttons grayed out. Those write to your Cympha cloud, so they need a signed-in Cympha account. If you can't sign in on this machine, that's fine. Use Export Local and share the plan file directly. Nothing about the plan itself is diminished. An implant that won't update after you changed its diameter. 2 possible causes, and check them in order. Make sure the implant you mean to change is actually selected in the model's browser at the top. Editing fields with nothing selected changes nothing. Then, if update is still disabled, a placement is pending. You arm to add and never click the site. Click in the 3-dimensional view to finish that placement, and update comes back. And the last one, which is more common than you'd expect on a busy multi-implant plan. You can't find the implant you just placed. Open the model's browser on the top toolbar. Every implant has a row there, and selecting the row focuses the gizmo on it, so the browser is both your inventory and your navigation. The written guide covers all of this, plus the file format details, at cympha.com. Open Docs, and look for Plan and Implant Case in Studio. And if you work between the browser and the desktop planner, the companion lecture on implant interoperability is the natural next watch. Subscribe if the series helps. 1 Cympha workflow per lecture, every workflow covered. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.